Hey, leader, I hope that 101 was encouraging to you and you feel all the more empowered, equipped, and confident to resolve conflict in your workplace. And I'm going to jump into some further elaboration on the points maybe that we just went over. And again, we are inside of the context of the conversation. So I'm just going to give you some further points on this, and I hope that you are all the more encouraged. Okay, so again, the definition of conflict resolution is the informal or formal process that two or more parties use to find a peaceful solution to their dispute. The informal or formal process that two or more parties use to find a peaceful solution in their dispute. Okay, so we're going to talk today about how to have difficult conversations. How to have difficult conversations. I know that it might come more natural to some, but I'm going to give you some thoughts today on how to execute having a difficult conversation. Okay, so number one, I said this in 101, but let's talk about it again. Number one, listen to understand, not to respond. Listen to understand, not to respond. So this is what I used to do a lot. I used to hear them, but I wasn't really listening, intently. I was hearing them, waiting for them to wrap up what they're saying, because I would already have something in my mind to respond to them with. That's not applying empathy and understanding. And that's what I believe a mature leader applies is empathy and understanding. So we listen to understand, not to respond. We want to understand where they're coming from. That matters. Okay. You might see one thing one way, they might see something else differently, or you might be seeing, two things two different ways, but you actually are trying to see the same thing. There are so many different reasons. There's so much nuance to conversation, and you got to apply some understanding. You got to be attentive when you are in a conversation. Try to hear the cry behind the words. Maybe their tone's off and it's hard to, hear what they're trying to say. But go beyond what they're saying and try to hear why they're saying it. Okay, so we listen to understand and not to respond. Number two, keep a level head. Keep a level head. Hold your composure. Stay above emotion. That doesn't mean that emotion won't be provoked some. That doesn't mean when you are maybe explaining your side or your perspective or your pain, that doesn't mean that, again, that emotion isn't evoked in that moment. However, we're not led by emotion. Okay, so we hold our composure and we keep a level head through it all. Because once the emotional ladder starts to be, initiated, it's a crazy cycle. And it's like we constantly need to one up one another emotionally. And it could just, in a matter of seconds, explode. And we will never accomplish what we set out to accomplish. You've already done the hard work and gotten in the room where it happens, in the room where the potential of resolution could occur, right? You're already there. That for some, that's an extremely hard position. It might be you. So don't let emotion blow the whole thing. Okay, again, our intent is to resolve and get on the same playing field. Okay, that's number two. Keep a level head. Number three, don't be defensive. Okay, don't be defensive. Try to understand again, but don't immediately come back being defensive, because if somebody after a while finds themselves continuously hitting a wall of defense, or you can say hitting a fence, they're going to start pulling back, and they're going to allow that fence to be there, and nothing's going to get accomplished. Okay. Being defensive does not help. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily maybe correcting a certain detail in there, but your tone matters, of course. That doesn't mean, you shouldn't every now and then in the right moment, in an exceptional moment, maybe stand up for yourself. But that doesn't mean necessarily, I think a lot of it comes down to tone, right? It's tone. And there is a respectful way to say, actually, this is what happened versus, no, what you're not about to say to me is, you're trying to say the same thing, but you're doing it two different ways. So tone matters. Okay. So don't be defensive. It might be my inclination to be defensive in a conversation and to just maybe just because I want the conversation to move on and I want the facts out and I don't like being misunderstood when I can help it. But every now and then I just got to sit back and just kind of take it for what it is, for the sake of resolution. Okay. So stay focused on the bigger picture that this needs to be resolved. And these other little things will work themselves out in due time. Okay. That's number 3. Don't be defensive. Number 4, once again, clarify intentions, clarify motivations, and clarify purpose. So if you're in the conversation and things start getting a little sideways, or you're just kind of going round and round, bring it back to the root, bring it back to the heart, bring it back to the mission, the motivation, the purpose, the intent of this conversation. The purpose of this conversation is for resolution. So bring it back. Hey, Brian, let's not forget why we're here today. Okay. I know we're getting, kind of off track a little bit, and, maybe we need to assume there's responsibility, but I know we're getting off track a little bit, but hey, let's just get back to the point of this conversation, because again, hey, this matters to me, because this matters. This relationship matters. You matter. This whole thing matters. Okay. So you might need to bring it back every now and then, kind of recalibrate, reset, refocus, to move forward. Okay. Number 5, take breaks if you need. Take breaks if you need. Nothing wrong with taking a little break. Okay. Getting up, maybe walking around, taking a break, walking to the bathroom, walking back, saying, hey man, let's just take 5. Okay, let's just take 5. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, if you're at a certain place, nothing wrong with just taking a little bit of a break. Now, I wouldn't make it a big deal. I wouldn't make it a scene. Don't storm out. If you're in the middle of something that needs to be kind of worked through and pushed through in that moment, then I would stick to it. Okay. However, if there is a clear moment to take a break, it's totally permissible. Okay. Number 5, take breaks if you need. Number 6, this is a big one. And this is something that I see poorly performed in our culture, in our society. Okay. Number 6, you can disagree, but not dishonor. Okay. It's okay to disagree with somebody. It's okay. I disagree with those closest to me. My wife and I disagree, but we never dishonor one another. There's a way to disagree without dishonoring, without making it personal, or without assuming that, they hate you because y'all disagree. You can disagree and not hate. Okay. Again, some of those who I love the most, I disagree with. So you can disagree without dishonoring. Okay. Not every disagreement should provoke, or not disagreement shouldn't provoke dishonor at all. We should not dishonor, period. Right. Because that's who we are. Dishonor has no place in our society. Honor matters. We'll talk about that later on. Okay. So you can disagree, but not dishonor. So if you're in conversation and you disagree, you can respectfully, politely, honorably disagree with them. But that doesn't mean you come back and you dishonor or say something hateful or make it personal, okay, to them, or talk about them behind closed doors. Leaders, mature leaders, especially kingdom leaders, Okay. We don't slander or gossip. That's just not what we do. And we honor because we are honorable people. Okay. All right. So that's number 6. You can disagree, but not dishonor. Number 7, admit when you are wrong and apologize. There is a powerful thing that occurs when we simply apologize. There's that trending thing on social media, normalize this, normalize that. I would like to say normalize apology. Normalize apology. Bring it back. There's nothing wrong with that. That shows a humility in you that the relationship needs. So admit when you are wrong and simply apologize. You know what? I was wrong. I misspoke. I, didn't treat this moment well. I disrespected you, etc. Whatever the apology is, you might just, maybe the conflict can simply be resolved by you just apologizing. And maybe we shouldn't be so stubborn to admit when we're wrong. Okay. Let's not be the people on the security cameras that get caught by the camera and then watch the film back and still deny that it was them when they're clearly on camera. Okay. So let's just admit when we're clearly wrong. That's number 7. Number 8, never interrupt. We covered this in one-on-one, but never interrupt. Okay. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of a moment that calls for an interruption. Maybe if, I don't know, I'll let you discern that and determine that. But generally speaking, interruptions do not help the conversation. Okay. Do not help the resolution. Number 8. Number 9. Number 9 is avoid blanket statements. Avoid blanket statements. In other words, like you never, or you always, or every time, those type of things. It pushes people away. You never respect me in a meeting. You always do this when this happens. These overarching, like these blanket things, it's just not necessary, because truth of the matter is they probably don't always do that, right? So even if they do it 60% of the time, that's not always, that's oftentimes. Okay, so use the correct and accurate words. Okay, it's something I've had to really grow in as well. That's number 9. Number 10, last but not least, don't act like it's okay if it's not. Be honest. Don't act like it's okay if it's not. So in other words, if you don't feel like something was resolved and the other person, maybe they did, don't stand up in the meeting and just say, man, I feel really good about this. Thank you so much. We can move forward. And you're still going home that day with an unresolved conflict, in you or in the relationship. Now, there might be times that you do have to kind of work some stuff out within yourself. Sometimes, the problem is me, the man in the mirror. I've heard somebody say before, maybe the issue is you, but in the relational setting with the other person, let's not act like it's okay if it's not. You can say, hey man, let's continue the conversation. I still feel like there's some stuff in here that's not resolved, or let's hang out again. I feel good with where this is going, with the direction or with the progress. Give some credit to the progress, but don't give credit to a resolution that is not true. Okay. So you can always revisit, don't prolong it, but give credit to the progress and resolve it as quickly as possible. That's the best way to resolve conflict, by the way, as quickly as possible. Okay. I hope those 10 things encouraged you today. I so look forward to 301, and I'm so grateful for the leadership that you provide. people. Let's continue to serve people well, and let's resolve the conflict that is necessary to be resolved. We'll see you soon.